I hear at least once a week from men who are being investigated at work for sexual harassment allegations. And the fallout from the culture of fear and resentment that has been created for men in all professions and walks of life is even more profound than I think has yet been generally acknowledged, and that's my subject on today's Fiamengo File. I'm Janice Fiamengo at the University of Ottawa. For 4 or 5 months now, I've been in correspondence with a cancer surgeon who's been accused by 2 subordinates of low-level sexual harassment and is now under investigation by a panel of doctors with power to discipline him or even recommend his suspension. This surgeon, whom I'll call Dr. Smith, has always made his patients his first priority, and he has devoted his life to creating a professional learning environment at his medical practice. Therefore, he was stunned when 2 junior colleagues, both women, complained about him. And I won't go into the details about the allegations because I want to protect his identity, but I will say this: none of the allegations concerns sexual acts or sexual touching. Both accusers allege inappropriate comments about their bodies and their sex lives. One claims that the surgeon looked at her inappropriately and made her uncomfortable. From any objective point of view, the allegations are minor, and given that they allegedly occurred when no one else was around, they are impossible to substantiate. But the accusations are being taken very seriously, and they have been passed to this 3-person panel to investigate, and as a result, this surgeon's life has been put in a horrific limbo for months with no end in sight. Of course, he's had to hire a lawyer, and the lawyer has told him he has about a 5% risk of suspension and a 30% risk of being disciplined on a finding of sexual harassment. The proceeding is a nightmare of ongoing stress during which Dr. Smith has to fight his anger and a sense of helplessness while attempting to maintain the stoic professionalism necessary for his work. He also must remain a devoted husband, loving father, and high-performing surgeon managing a wide spectrum of complex cases while going through a humiliating process that's expected to last at least another year, perhaps longer. He says that he now understands how cancer patients lose hope and concentration when they first hear the word cancer. That's how he felt when he learned he was under investigation for sexual harassment charges that could result in his termination. The man has been told that his best defense is to demonstrate that he takes the accusations seriously and is willing to engage in self-reflection about his own responsibility, a galling suggestion when he knows that things either simply didn't happen as alleged or didn't happen at all. But he has no way of proving his innocence, and he must merely hope for a sane conclusion to his ordeal. He estimates that hundreds of thousands of dollars will be allocated to investigate the bogus harassment charges. Unfortunately, like many injustices in life, he also knows that the accusers will not face any retribution if the panel determines that the accusations are false or at least don't stand up to scrutiny. So it's a no-lose gamble for the women. Dr. Smith finds it remarkable the ease with which his accusers can make their allegations with no risk to themselves, and the seeming ease with which, if the allegations are found credible, he could lose everything: his practice, his livelihood, his reputation, his identity. Even without the allegations being confirmed, he could lose his license to practice if he allows the stress to get to him. This is a man who removes tumors from people's eyes and other organs and reconstructs damaged tissue. His accusers, in contrast, need fear nothing. Moreover, he doubts that either of them will ever become skillful or knowledgeable enough to achieve his level of expertise. This man has a record of outstanding surgical ability and patient care over years. Yet the system seems not to care about that as a factor in his favor, and not to appreciate how much the entire community stands to lose if he is to be incapacitated. He feels a profound sense of despair and a loss of faith in the entire patient care structure that he once dedicated himself to maintaining. He feels that he has spent his life giving to humankind in humility, going the extra mile for his colleagues and patients, taking on extra work on scheduled days off, sometimes at the expense of his own health, certainly at the expense of the time he could have spent with his wife and children. Yet he stands to lose it all over nothing, and there's no way he can protect himself. Other allegations could come in at any time. Some of his friends and associates have had similar experiences, or they've seen other men accused, and they've told him their coping strategy, which is essentially to stop caring. They say they do the least that is necessary to fulfill their contractual obligations and no more. They no longer do voluntary service or teaching. They spend the minimal time necessary with patients. They don't go out of their way to help junior colleagues, especially women. They're far more stressed, far more defensive, far less generous than they were in the past. Why throw your heart and soul into something that could be taken away on a crazy woman's whim? Repressed anger is now a near constant part of their work lives. This is the unseen but enormous cost of Me Too. Not only men's legitimate wariness around female colleagues that we've heard quite a bit about, but the general loss to the whole society of expertise and dedication of the men who now withdraw into themselves after a false allegation, the men who decide not to sacrifice themselves anymore in an environment that won't protect them and goes out of its way to protect their accusers. So imagine the case of this one exemplary man multiplied by a factor of X across the entire Western world. Can we really afford to give up so much knowledge, ability, and goodwill? Are so many highly competent men really so expendable? In the feminist West, we seem more than willing to take the risk. Thanks again, feminism, for making life worse for us all. Please consider supporting us on Subscribestar to help us keep producing male-positive, anti-feminist, and anti-SJW content.